on all 3 charges in the death of George Floyd.
Those charges are second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. The verdict came just one day after closing arguments, with both sides laying out their final case. The jury deliberated for about 10 hours total before reaching their verdict.
Floyd, who was born in North Carolina, died last May after Chauvin pinned his knee on Floyd's neck for roughly 9.5 minutes.
This case is one that has been felt all around the world. Many people watched the video of Floyd calling out for his mother as he took his last breath.
We saw protests across the globe, including right here in Charlotte. We have team coverage tonight, and we want to start with WCNC Charlotte's Brianna Harper, who has local reaction. She joins us now from Uptown. Bree.
Yes, Sarah, for the past several hours, we spent time here inside a No Grease barbershop in Uptown, and we spoke to the barbers and the clients inside here who were anxiously awaiting to get the verdict in this trial. Now, many of them tell us that they weren't sure what was going to happen when they heard guilty on all 3 charges. We're told many of them is what they were hoping for. All eyes glued to the TV, watching the coverage leading up to the verdict announcement in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. At first, we're told there were feelings of anxiousness and a bit of uneasiness, not knowing exactly what that verdict would be. But as soon as the judge read aloud a guilty verdict on all 3 charges, including second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter, you could hear a sigh of relief all throughout the barbershop. Many of the barbers said it was important and critical that they watch this big moment all together.
It's very important. I mean, because this is a place that everyone comes together and we'll get out together this week, plan for the future. We talk about different current events, and, hearing this is great.
And as we know, the barber shop is an important place to get the black male's perspective, especially in this case of the death of George Floyd. But there was also several young black men inside this barber shop as well. So seeing this trial play out, seeing this verdict play out was a teaching moment for them as well. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Bree, thank you for that reporting. The case has triggered worldwide protest and a re-examination of racism and policing in the United States. CMPD's police chief reacting to the verdict just moments ago. WCNC Charlotte's Lana Harris is live at police headquarters in Uptown this evening. Lana, what did the chief say about all of this?
You know what, after the verdict came down, we immediately got a notification that the chief wanted to hold this press conference and address exactly what we had just heard. He said we have all been watching and waiting for this verdict for over a year now, and we have finally seen justice prevail in this case. He says that when incidents like this happen, it takes law enforcement 10 steps back when it comes to building relations with the community. So he says that this verdict may have been a good step in that direction to show some accountability, but that he does not feel that the work in building those relationships stops with this verdict. I will say something very interesting that he said. He said when he first saw the video of George Floyd and what happened to him, he immediately knew that something was wrong. He didn't feel like he needed more evidence to say that that was not an acceptable police practice. Here's more from him on that.
A lot of times people that they want to hear what a police perspective of something, and as soon as I saw that, there, often you can say, well, let's wait and get the whole story, or let's see what evidence comes up. That video was very telling. It was something that was very disturbing from day one that I saw it, and I've always taken the stance that there's no way that you could ever justify such an act by an officer, and I think this is the, like I said, we've been waiting over a year to see what the results would be, and this is where we landed.
And the chief also said he has talked to the officers in his department, and he does not know of one that feels that that move that was done to George Floyd was justified either. So they all seem to be on the same page about this. On celebrations that may happen tonight, he says that they are prepared for anything that may happen, but he does hope things will remain peaceful. Back to you guys.
Hey, Lana, really quickly before I let you go, I know that this is a unique situation for law enforcement, not just here in Charlotte, but all across the country. Did the police chief say anything about the unique situation that these law enforcement officers are in? Obviously, they've seen this video with George Floyd. They've seen the reaction to what has happened in the Chauvin trial, but yet they are police officers. They have families and they are doing their jobs, and it's not really the most popular time to be a police officer. Did he speak to that with his own officers?
Well, and that's the thing. You often don't see police officers weighing in on different incidents that happened around the country. And so for him to say that he and his officers saw that video and all were on the same page that it wasn't okay, it said a lot. So I think that the mood and the vibe in the department is they kind of all know what is and is not acceptable as they all move forward.
Yeah, very difficult job for them in law enforcement. Thank you, Lana, for that report.
And Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles weighed in on the verdict on Twitter as well. She said she hopes the verdict brings some measure of closure to the family of George Floyd. She went on to write, quote, "I hope everyone respects the result and understands this will not be the last time we have to address a situation like this. Change is needed, and we should all be a part of that change."
Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden responded to the verdict saying, although justice was handed down, the decision will never return Mr. Floyd to his family, friends, or community. He went on to write, quote, "As sheriff, I believe policing is a noble profession, yet I also know that not all individuals feel equally protected. The Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office remains committed to doing the hard work necessary to build the trust and confidence required to enhance safety for all who live and work in Mecklenburg County."
So what happens next? We asked Minneapolis criminal defense lawyer Jack Rice if he thinks Chauvin's defense lawyers will appeal after the former police officer was found guilty on all 3 counts.
I think they will. One of those really was this idea of a fair trial in the first place, and undue influence coming from outside. The judge made a mistake when he didn't actually take all of these jurors and sequester them. We saw this after the Wright shooting by that police officer just north of Minneapolis. I think, frankly, we saw this at the beginning when the Minneapolis City Council negotiated a settlement with the George Floyd family for $27 million. That jury actually knew about it before they were even impaneled. So we had that piece too.
Rice went on to say Minneapolis has been through a lot, and he hopes today's verdict closes this painful chapter in the city's history. We talked to Charlotte residents near the Black Lives Matter mural in Uptown Charlotte. One woman told us that Chauvin's verdict was, quote, "as it should be."
It was clear to me that he was not doing what he was trained to do. And my eyes could see that on the video. Clearly the jury saw the same thing. So, as it should be, he should be held accountable.
We know the president is set to address the nation tonight in response to the verdict. But in the last 30 minutes, the Floyd family receiving a phone call from President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. So let's take a look, listen to this.
You've been incredible. You're an incredible family. I wish I were there just with my arms around you. I'm standing here with Cedric. We've been talking. We've been watching every second of this. And the Vice President, all of us, and we're all so relieved.
People in South Carolina holding a moment of prayer, reflection, and meditation for the Floyd family. The NAACP of Rock Hill there as well. Take a listen.
I believe if he could speak right now, he would tell us, okay, I got justice, but what about Breonna Taylor? What about Dante Wright? And what about the next mother's son? The next sister's sister? That is why we got to keep the momentum, not because we got one victory this time. We have got to continue to keep the momentum until everybody feels like if this should happen to my son, I know I'm going to get justice.
And that is a comment again from the NAACP out of South Carolina there. These are live images coming in from Minneapolis. Post news conference there from, you see Reverend Al Sharpton there in the background and the attorney Crump there as well. Again, just to recap for you, we've been following this second-degree unintentional murder charge found guilty on, third-degree murder charge guilty, second-degree manslaughter guilty in Derek Chauvin's trial.
Of course, NBC will have continuing coverage of this story coming up on Nightly News. That's right after our newscast, and of course, we'll have a recap for you tonight at 11.
Download the WCNC Charlotte News app. Powered by the #1 TV news website in Charlotte, WCNC.com.